Hello and welcome to the Performance Physique Podcast. My name is Arj and I am your head coach. This podcast is all about helping you with your running, your nutrition and your training. We take the jargon out of sports science to help you realise your goals faster than ever before. Let's get started.
So I thought, you know what, this is actually a really interesting topic because...
I think she's amazing. She really
One story that really caught my attention this week.
My story relates to a particular TV
Week in Review.
My guests are here in the studio, raring to go. And if you've tuned into Radio London, it's time to unpack the week that was. On quite an important day as well, it must be said. 21st of August being GCSE Results Day. Big thanks to my guests for coming in today. And it's a welcome return to Arj Terrychalvam, founder of Performance Physique. You can get more details on performance_physique. And of course, you'll know he's also our resident expert when it comes to all things marathon and London Marathon related. Great to have you back, Arj. And also welcome to Gina Visram, who is a career coach. You can get more details on your career and future on social media. She's the founder of Your Career and Future. Gina, great to have you here. It's quite something and apt, actually, Gina, that you've come into the studio today because it is GCSE Results Day. And all three of us were just talking off air about just how intense today is. By now, students will have kind of been opened their results, got their results, digesting their results. What do you have to say about a day like today?
Digesting their results is such a good way to put it, isn't it? And actually, Arj and I were talking about that as well before coming on air. What I would say is, congratulations to everybody, and you've done it, and you've gotten the results now, so well done. And I suppose at this stage, it's really the thoughts for anybody who needs to go in a different direction to what they anticipated or what they hoped, or even anybody who's changed their mind over the summer. So if you potentially haven't secured the grades that you need to, remember that schools and colleges and sixth forms, they are all around. They're kind of back after the summer at this stage. And so you can be contacting them today, contacting them tomorrow, and really looking at your options around what A-levels or BTECs or T-levels or apprenticeships you might want to be doing now. So some of you will be sorted and you'll know where you're off to next. But if you've received your results and it means that you need to pivot in some way, then make sure that you're having conversations. There are lots of potential options right now.
Do you remember, and thank you for that, Gina, do you remember what it was like, Arj, for you with GCSEs? Because I think that's what I said at the beginning of the show, is a lot of us, it takes you right back to that day when we had to open our results.
No matter how long it's been.
It's been a long time for me. But what was it like for you, Arj?
It wasn't very long for me.
Of course it wasn't.
Of course not.
It's something I'm actually really passionate about. I work with a lot of youth athletes, and this is a really, really big deal for them. From April onwards, you start seeing the behaviours of them in training.
Really?
It's really, really, really noticeable. And the pressures have increased. I've noticed that in the last about 3 or 4 years, the distraction at training, the concerned looks as they walk down to training. And I'm sure we all had it. The PE teacher kind of person was the one that you felt a little bit more like a person that you could speak to a little bit more openly.
Yeah.
And that's what happens at training. So days like today, I remember it very clearly. The few nerves, I've always been quite a relaxed individual, but I was saying earlier to Gina that for me, it's the most important thing is your day is not defined by just one individual day, or your life isn't defined by it. There's so many options afterwards. What I planned to do at 16 and what I ended up doing. So far apart.
Worlds apart.
And this is so much better.
And exactly. And I think that's what I was saying, Gina, because I thought it's easier said than done saying, well done, don't worry if it didn't pan out. But I thought it was important to kind of share some of our own experiences. Is as much as I did really well in school, I remember GCSEs, there was only one subject I was dreading, and that was maths. And I did really badly compared to what I was predicted. But then it was one of those situations where you just dust yourself off and you start again, and I resat it and I ended up getting the result I wanted, but I had to go the second time round. So there are options there, is what I'm trying to say, Gina.
And there will be many people in that situation, actually. And it's actually in the past, I want to say 5 years or so, it's become a must to resit your maths or your English if you don't get the 4, 5 and above, which is, sort of an old school C.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I've seen already today, I've seen conversations on Facebook groups, for example, where people have gone, my 17-year-old daughter has just sat maths for the 3rd time and hasn't passed it. Does she need to do it again? What are the options? And so, if anybody's in that situation, I know it can be really disheartening. The idea at the moment, and this hasn't always been the case, and this wasn't the case in our time, the idea is that you do repeat it with the intention being for you to get that passing grade. Mm-hmm. But if you hit 18 and you haven't achieved the result, there is the option of doing a functional skills option or something like that at college. So it's sort of an equivalent. It's more everyday maths, really. It's more the kind of thing, arguably, that is really quite useful.
Yeah, that you're going to use.
So I'm going to get all the maths people really upset with me right now.
But it's true.
But it is.
Yeah.
But it is. It's the sort of stuff that you're more likely to use more on a day-to-day basis. And so, I'm hoping that once you get over the disappointment, because if you're feeling disappointed, nobody's trying to gaslight you into thinking don't feel that way. Feel your feelings. But know that it really is common to repeat and repeat until you get there. And if you don't get there for any reason, or if you keep missing it, I remember a student of mine did a few years ago. Hers were always the results I would look out for first, and my heart would sink if I'd see that she hadn't made it. But if you don't get it, then there are different options at different stages in your life to get the qualification level that you need.
And just bringing it in, Arj, and thank you for that, Gina, just bringing in that point that you mentioned for young athletes, because that also does seem to be a route for people to just kind of maybe offload some of that pressure.
Yeah, totally.
Do you find that when, students that you see kind of that's their one route? If they can't deal with the exams, they can at least have fun with the athletics?
100%. I witness that day in, day out. On that track or in the gym, they are trying to gather their escape. And the biggest concern I always, I get these feelings starting to emerge October, November, before the GCSEs or before. So we're talking 10, 11 months beforehand, where the parents start talking about, well, we're probably going to pull them out of all of their sports for about 6 months. Yeah, it happens a lot. And there's a lot of clinical evidence which shows if you maintain your sport and your training, your academic performance increases.
Okay.
Your ability to handle those maybe more stressful moments during exam periods, if you maintain your sporting participation, your competitiveness, really, your ability to handle that, your resilience increases as well. And this isn't just like, I've cherry-picked one study. This is across the board. So I have a lot of those conversations with parents over, you want to support your child as best as possible, and I completely appreciate that. From 20 years of experience and as a lecturer, that is the worst thing you can do.
Okay.
We might need to change things. There might be an occasion where they can't attend a session because they're going to a revision group, or maybe they're doing an extra tutored session to hit that maths. But it's really important that we take a step back and we use perspective to try and support our children to go through that exam process.
It's so great to have both of you here with your expertise on a day like GCSE results day, I have to say, because I guarantee there'll be parents, guardians, grandparents, uncles and aunts who want to provide that support and don't necessarily know how to navigate it. Stay with me. I'm going to continue having a chat with both Arj and Gina. We'll delve into their stories of the week. But if you'd like more details for them, it's Your Career and Future on social media for Gina, and for Arj, it's Performance_Physique.
So I thought, this is actually a really interesting topic because
I think she's amazing.
One story that really caught my attention this week.
My story relates to a particular TV
Week in Review.
Big thanks to my guests for staying for Week in Review on Radio London. It's Shay here with you till 6 p.m. I've got Arj Terry-Chalvam, founder of Performance Physique, and also Gina Visram, who is founder of Your Career and Future. So let's delve into one of the first stories then, shall we? This one's quite an interesting one from yourself, Arj. It really did gain a lot of traction online, this particular story, only days ago. A warning being issued over branded kids magnesium gummies. Parents being warned to stop using particular gummies. Just give us more details on what's going on here.
Yeah, so this is effectively the whole multivitamins and supplements industry. Gummies are a new thing. Last couple of years, they're trying to encourage children and people who aren't very comfortable taking tablets. There was a particular brand, which was the Nutrition Ignition Kids Magnesium Glycinate gummies. They were recalled, and it's quite a concern, actually. So the MAHA, which effectively look after all health standards in supplements and food products, after a couple of parents were concerned with their children's sleepy behaviour after consuming these tablets, or these gummies, they actually found that they contained between 1.5 milligrams and 1.7 milligrams of melatonin.
Okay.
Now, melatonin is something you cannot buy in the UK off the shelf. You have to have a prescription for it. They don't give it out very easily, and usually a dosage for a child is about 1 milligram. And this was available in a gummy, so enticing already.
Yes.
It's really, really concerning. Before we get into it, I think the most important thing is if you bought one of these products off Amazon and eBay, if that was the main marketplace for it, the watchdog effectively said, please stop using it immediately, go to your local pharmacy to dispose of it, and use the MHRA yellow card scheme. It does highlight a wider issue really here of supplements being available now on marketplaces like Amazon and eBay, which it's very, very easy to buy a product which you don't necessarily have the confidence of where it's come from. There is a greater concern that the person who developed this product, they have commented and said, look, I had no idea this was in there, but was a member of the NHS itself who created it. So I think it really, really does flag up that we need to be buying our products not from marketplaces, need to buy them directly from manufacturers, and perhaps there is always a comfort, isn't there, from buying something off the shelf in your high street.
In your pharmacy.
Or in your pharmacy, yeah.
Because in my head, like genuinely, in my mind as a parent, when I want to get my daughter any kind of, medication or supplement, I want to speak to someone who knows about it. And I'm sorry, but for me, going online is not... I prefer to just speak to, a 100%. Pharmacist and say, right, I'm looking at these ones. What would you recommend? This is her age, etc., etc. But I appreciate for many of us, Gina, we are time deprived as a society. And that is why the convenience of clicking buy and add to basket and it arrives within 12 hours at your doorstep makes life easier, doesn't it?
So much easier, yeah. I am the ultimate online shopper, I have to say. But I'm quite similar to you in terms of when it comes to kind of
health
products like that. When it comes to health products, it's a Holland & Barrett or a Boots or a super... It's something, or a pharmacy or an independent pharmacy. It's something where you can speak to somebody and ask the question and talk about why it is that you think that you need it if you've got a specific thing in your mind, or to at least be able to share, what the symptoms are or what it is, and then get a recommendation. So yeah, there are some things that I'm still very much... get into a shop when you can.
And also, Arj, because obviously you work in this world of nutrition, of health, of fitness, there's a whole conversation going on just around whether or not we even need to be giving these vitamins and supplements to children as young as 3-4 years old. I remember when I was young, the only thing my dad made us have, because I'm a lifelong vegetarian, was cod liver oil. And in those days, we had to drink it. Can you imagine? You know how lucky you are getting capsules. Our dad would stand there and say, I don't care. You were having this teaspoon and you're taking it. And it was
the same.
Horrid.
Yeah. It's in a red packet.
It was disgusting. I mean, even now I can kind of taste that metallic-y taste. But fine. But that was the only kind of health supplement I remember having as a child. Nowadays, it seems there are an array of different multivitamins for children.
Yeah, so it is very widespread. It's easier to look at adults, first of all, effectively, as long as you have quite a wide variety of foods within your diet, then any multivitamin is unnecessary, and you should really only look at fish oil, as you did.
Yeah, well done, Dad.
And vitamin D3, unless you have a deficiency somewhere. That's the easiest. As you go towards childhood, there are a lot of issues around childhood consumption, perhaps right from being a fetus and, not necessarily having taken on board certain nutrients during effectively growing, becoming a child, becoming a baby. So it generally is recommended for them to have a supplement in place. The NHS used to provide one. I don't know if they still do, actually. And that would effectively act as a safety net. So if that child was perhaps missing something, where these supplements come in, this magnesium supplement was to improve a child's sleep. Now, what really concerns me is that everyone who works in this industry knows that melatonin is a sleep agent.
I see.
So whoever's manufactured it, obviously it's not that this individual is manufactured somewhere else, I imagine, but knows that this is going to make the product look really effective, isn't it? This is all conjecture. It would be my understanding that if I'm putting melatonin in something, though, that someone's going to fall asleep easier, and that's why they're taking magnesium. So I think there's an issue here of really how much should we be buying supplements outside of the NHS prescription. So when you have a child and you have the health visitor who comes around and says, these are your capsules that you take for your first 6 weeks.
Got it.
And you carry on taking them, but you provide for it yourself.
But that's a medical professional. That's
exactly
fundamentally what's coming across to me here. And what you're saying is you should be seeking professional medical advice. Even when it's something as simple as a gummy which has got a sticker on it for a child saying, oh, this is, the superfood of all multivitamins. I mean, even then, you should still speak to a medical professional before giving yourself or your child anything. That's the key takeaway here. If you'd like more details on this particular article, I'd go to the BBC website, bbc.co.uk. Thank you for putting that on the agenda, and actually quite pertinent during these summer holidays that we're discussing something that I think a lot of parents will be navigating. Right, it's 3:31. Let's get an update on the roads, traffic and travel now with Billy Reeves.
So I thought, you know what, this is actually a really interesting topic because...
I think she's amazing.
One story that really caught my attention this week.
My story relates to a particular TV
Week in review.
It is 3:35, Shay here on Radio London, and we are neck deep into Week in Review. So if you're new to the show, firstly, welcome along. But this is the part of the show where I'm joined live in the studio with two Londoners and we discuss their stories of the week. Big thanks to my guests for staying with me. I have got founder of Performance Physique Arj, Terry Chelvam, and of course, he is our resident expert when it comes to all things London Marathon. You can get more details for him on performance_physique. And also big thanks to Gina Visram, career coach. She is the founder of Your Career and Future. More details on that on social media. So Gina, let's head into your story then, shall we? The next story that we wanted to discuss this afternoon. You read an opinion piece from the Guardian columnist Hugh Muir entitled Pity the Beat Cops, Now They Are Banned from Dancing at Notting Hill Carnival. Of course, it's Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. What did you want to say around this particular story?
So this particular story caught my eye. I mean, in a way, lots of carnival stories do, I must admit. So for context, I am a Londoner of Caribbean heritage. Carnival is in my blood. It is absolutely my favourite time of year. There's Christmas. Yes, I love Christmas, but Carnival, in terms of my favourite thing to do in London, that is absolutely it. But what I know from the media coverage of it is it tends to be and don't get me wrong, there are some negative things, but it's a real focus on that compared to the real kind of big community celebration that it ultimately is. But this particular story was about how Police Commissioner Mark Rowley seems to have said to his officers, of which there will be hundreds and it feels like thousands on the road, not to dance. So don't dance, I gather from that particular story in The Guardian, has been the mandate. And I have to say, as somebody who, I didn't even live in London for my whole life, but I used to visit a lot even as a kid. And I remember how amazing it was to see how, when there are police officers around, to see them interacting with the crowd and just connecting with people. And so when you do see a police officer who's just bopping along a little bit, it gives some, I think this was actually something that was mentioned in the article. It feels more like a police service. You know, like you're kind of alongside the community, and you're there to you know, help things be as safe as they can be. So, yeah, the whole thing about not dancing, I thought that was a real shame, because there have been some moments you've seen some police officers having a great old time.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this, Arj?
Isn't it basic psychology in terms of how to generate a rapport?
Yeah.
That you effectively mimic behaviours.
Sure.
You show that you're letting a guard down. And what does that do? That reduces hostilities. I have no knowledge about policing or law enforcement or any of those challenges. But I do have to go and present every single day to a bunch of teenagers sometimes feel like they're quite hostile, or athletes who have come off a really bad tournament on the weekend. And how do you build a rapport? How do you get them to open up, and how do you get them to feel relaxed? You make sure you do something which it perhaps associates with their behaviours, or perhaps makes them feel welcome. And that is how you avoid trouble, in my opinion. There's always going to be some aspects of trouble, but we've all seen those clips go viral on the internet, and it's brought a smile on our face.
It does, and it does on the road. And I'll say that as a masquerader. So at Notting Hill Carnival on the Sunday, it's the kiddies' day. You've got the kids in the costumes, and an increasing amount of adults in their costumes as well. And then the Monday is the adults' day. You tend to see kids on the road then as well, but that's sort of meant to be how it's delineated. Yeah, exactly, not as much. And even when you're in a masquerade band, in a float, and you're going along and you see, you know, cops on the route, and you have a moment where you see one dancing or engaging. Yeah. It does. It brings the biggest smile to your face. And you'll be, you know, we can be like walking and dancing as we go and just looking and pointing and smiling. And I sort of think like, surely that's the community care element of it. But you're right. I am also by no means a policing expert. But in terms of what makes a community feel safe and seen, and actually for them to trust you as well, you know, for when there is a real need, I would say that kind of interaction only helps.
0800 731 2000. If you're tuned into Radio London, you'd like to share your thoughts on this, get in touch with the show. I'm going to move on just because we could talk about this all day.
We really can.
But there's such fantastic stories as well to cover. This one that you've brought in, Arj, it's a piece in Time Out about, and it says the controversial London pub chain that has introduced a service charge for ordering at the bar. The piece says the price of a night out continues to creep up. Now several pubs in the capital are featuring extra service charges. What's going on here for a pint?
This is wild. It's absolutely crazy. This is, you know, when you go to somewhere, maybe in Europe, and they say, oh, if you have your food at your table, you're going to pay a service charge because you're sat at a table and they're going to come over to you. This is if you go to the bar, they're going to charge you 4% to receive your pint. It's taking place within a train station at the moment. They're the first to be doing it.
Okay.
But I'm sure it won't be the last kind of initiative that's brought in. There is a couple of pubs which are also doing after 10 p.m. £2 surcharge per pint. Mm-hmm. Again, it's another way that we're demonstrating the challenges I think that hospitality are facing. Apparently, the margin now on a pint of beer is 7.5% to be shared between the brewer and the landlord. So at the end of the day, they've got their challenges. There's just over one pub per day is shutting every single day in England and Wales. Mm-hmm. They're facing a crisis due to VAT increases, the duty increases, all of these different aspects, you know, minimum wage, all of those aspects which perhaps are very, very good for the nation, but we need to have a better solution for the businesses. It's always going to hit the nation eventually with this massive price increase. I just can't imagine going to a bar and then being...
And
giving
a
service charge
for the
What's your thoughts on this, Gina?
Well, I mean, you often hear how, you know, we need to look at the nightlife economy and, you know, sort of bring that back. And this sounds like, a penalty for being out at 10 o'clock, and so then you have to pay more for your beer. Like it sounds crazy. I'm aware that everybody is stretched, right? We are as, you know, individuals. Yep. Businesses are stretched. Business rates are still really high. While there's so much there that's problematic. And yes, ultimately, when there are tariffs or varying taxes or whatever, it ultimately does come down to the consumer to pay in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
But what would you say?
That feels really odd.
But what would you say then to people who are listening, thinking, well, hold on, we are talking about, the greatest city in the world, London. Some people might be surprised that we haven't thought of this service charge sooner. But honestly, you look at places like New York, right?
Okay,
it's a given when you walk into a restaurant that you're going to have to pop on top a tip.
The tip.
And
big tips.
And it's not exactly, it's not a 1% tip, right?
Yeah.
And that's a given for anyone who lives in New York, but anyone who travels there.
Yeah.
Why on earth are we not doing that in a city as old, as established, and as thriving as London?
If I guess I've got to see it as a blessing, right? When you get to the stage where you're just like, oh, but it wasn't like this at this time. I really sort of felt it being like, oh, well, when I was at uni, it cost this much to do. And, I'm going to see the blessing of having a long enough life to be able to look back. But I mean, I guess like with anything else, right? Things might need to change.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? We're in a consumerist society. Okay, we at a certain point were meant to be a 24/7 city. I remember when we were like that. Clearly, you come out to London on a Tuesday evening, and you'll be surprised if there is anyone out and about nowadays.
It's only
Really
Edgware Road. It's Edgware Road.
Exactly.
That's about it.
but then if you look at other cities that are doing it successfully, it's because they will let you, the consumer, know that you want to come and enjoy the city, you're going to have to pay for
That's very true. That's really true, actually. I haven't thought of it from that respect.
Are we as Londoners just spoilt in how much we get to enjoy, even over going to a bar and having a pint without realising and recognising that there's a lot more we could and probably should be paying, Arj?
I don't like change.
Listen, it's my job to give the other side of the coin. I tried.
So I thought, you know what, this is actually a really interesting topic because...
I think she's amazing.
One story that really caught my attention this week.
My story relates to a particular TV
Week in review.
My goodness me, the show has flown by. It's already 3:48, last part of Week in Review. Big thanks again to my guest, Arj Terichalvam and Gina Visram, as we've been discussing their stories of the week. Let's get into the final pieces then, shall we, in the final stories that you both wanted to discuss. This one's a very interesting one from yourself, Gina. You wanted to talk about this exhibition that you went to last week. Tell us more. It's a landmark photographic exhibition called The Purpose of Light.
Yes, absolutely. So Misan Harriman is a photographer that I've been following just online for probably just shy of 5 years now. Really admired his work. I mean, he's, taken photos of figures like Meghan Markle, but the stuff that I really know him for is his social activism and how he sees people. And in this particular exhibition, so this is at the Hope 93 Gallery, which is actually a walk away from here in Oxford Circus. And it is all about, essentially, there are 110 photographs and they are from different protests. So one's as recent as some of the ones in June 2025 this year. In relation to Gaza, but others in relation to Black Lives Matter, to Grenfell. It really is humanity and life-sized, because we get so used to seeing things as we scroll through our phone. Like I follow him on Instagram.
Right.
And so I might see a photo that he shares and it looks phenomenal. But let me tell you, to walk into that gallery and see them at the size that they are, and the messages that are on the placards, the looks that are on the faces, the mother and her child. I went with one of my closest friends and with my 9.5-year-old, and we ended up having these really great conversations with her as we took it all in ourselves. And I'm somebody I very, from my very comfortable life here in London, I very much feel some of the things that we see, some of the things that feel unjust, and actually going into that exhibition, looking at it was fascinating.
What's your thoughts, Arj?
I think the key thing that you just said there, we know photography and these moments in time, they become the legacy of the occasion, don't they? It's captured, it's very often in black and white, and that's very meaningful. I think what you said there about it being large,
yes, that
transports you to that moment, doesn't it?
It does.
I was quite captured just listening to you there, and I can picture what it's like walking into the home.
And also what you're talking about, which I do think is great, because next week I'm going to be, for Schools Out on next Tuesday on the show, I'm going to be talking about just some of the great things you can do in London and have been able to do over the summer. There's been many families that I know and friends, no one's travelled away for a number of reasons. Some it's because they've got 11 plus exams, others it's because they just can't afford it. And actually, there are an amazing array of events, museums, exhibitions that we can access in London that people come from different parts of the country, if not the world, to come and see. So thank you for putting that on the agenda, Gina. I'll give the details as well, as you've just mentioned, if anyone wants more information. The exhibition is called The Purpose of Light, and you can just go to hope93.com for more details. Arj, final story from yourself. It's always got to be the sports. Let's discuss it. Revamped US Open mixed doubles has actually divided opinion. Give us context, because it's the one that I know everyone's talking about is obviously Alcaraz and Raducanu set to play together in the US Open mixed doubles.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a bit excited.
It's already happened, I'm afraid.
So I missed it.
They went out.
Yes.
So basically, the US Open decided to extend the Grand Slam to this superstar-studded invitational mixed doubles instead of hosting the doubles specialists. So they took 21 out of the 32 individuals from the top 20, paired them up. So, like you said. Yeah. And they did a shrunk down tournament. So they played, I think it's best of 6 games, and 2 sets rather than the usual 3 sets, etc. And it's really, really, really offended some people.
Why?
Because they've taken a money-earning opportunity and the spotlight away from double specialists who aren't in the singles tournament.
Okay.
They've taken the prize money from $200,000 to $1 million, and they've also given these singles players an appearance fee. So,
but it's just essentially it's just become about the big names then, because so Alcaraz and Raducanu, they actually lost in their first round. And so what you're saying is you've got specialist athletes, tennis players, athletes like anyone else, who have trained for this particular US Open with the mixed doubles, and they couldn't play? They
weren't invited to play in the tournament. So to make things a little bit more complicated as well, the US Open takes place over 2 weeks.
That's right. It's until the 7th, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
7th of September.
And normally, either side of that, there will be regular WTA tournaments, and LTA tournaments, and ATP tournaments, which allow players to accrue certain levels of points and prize money, etc. They've encroached on that space by starting a week earlier, taking the players away from those events, and then effectively said to the usual double specialists who don't get to play in the singles tournament, you can't take part in this. The argument is obviously we're bringing appeal to a wider audience, so it's going to benefit you in the long run, but we can understand why they would be annoyed. The funny thing is the defending champions were allowed to take part, obviously. They are double specialists, they don't play singles, and they won.
Well, of course they did. Surprise, surprise.
Specialist area.
Especially when you say, I mean, just for anyone who's thinking, did Shay just say that? Carlos Alcaraz and Emma Raducanu, they paired in the US Open mixed doubles and they lost in the first round. I mean, then you just think, hold on. Something is not right here.
It was just brewing from Wimbledon, I think, wasn't it? That people wanted to see those two play together. And they made it happen at the US Open.
But then they fell short.
Yeah, immediately.
It's quite embarrassing, really. What's your take, Gina? Are you into tennis?
I am into tennis, not a huge tennis fan, but I entirely see the appeal of kind of mixing it up and bringing some of the big names. And I wonder whether they could have... well, I guess if you want to see 2 people playing together, you want to see 2 people playing together. But also, you could have potentially mixed it up with like a double specialist with one of the big names, so you could have still gotten more eyes on the tournament while still kind of respecting
Very true.
The double specialist one is what Jay is saying in my but I know you've already said that, Arj, that it was the double specialist that did win. That's the whole point, though. I remember back in the day when the IPL, 'cause some of our listeners will know how much I love cricket, but I remember when the IPL was introduced. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm talking about the India Premier League, and everyone was going, well, why do we need that? What's going to be the point of that? We've already got, fantastic
innovation for cricket, wasn't it?
There you go. You've taken the words out of my mouth. That has been the greatest innovation for cricket. It's kind of gone, it's surpassed, and some people won't like this, but in terms of viewership and money being made, it has surpassed even the Premier League.
Wow.
And you look at that and you look at why so many cricket players from England, from other parts of the world, are going to the India Premier League. You've got nearly 1 billion people watching it. You know, so in actuality, games need to change and evolve and introduce new masses of audiences. And IPL is a prime example of when it's done right. Not only is their money to be made, but actually the fans are loving it.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you something. When the IPL's on, you can't get me or my family anywhere else apart from talking about that. Honestly, because you're so invested in the players. And let's see what happens with the US Open. Maybe it might. Are you a fan of it, or do you think of this, what they've done with the change with the doubles?
I think we need viewership. At the end of the day, the sport exists, and the double specialists earned 5 times what they would have because they were better at playing it. Although less of them had the opportunities. I think that's the bottom line, isn't it?
600 million global viewers. Just for anyone who's thinking I'm lying, just to say, million. Indian Premier League this year has become the most watched cricket match in history.
Wow.
That's twice the population of America.
Yeah. So there's numbers, and numbers talk is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So anyone who hasn't watched IPL, you're missing out. Right. And I'm not told to support it, but I'm a big fan of it. I am. It's addictive. Final story was from yourself, and it's a little bit of fun, this one, Gina, about TikTok and learning how to dance. And Kathak, tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. So on my FYP earlier this week, there was sort of a follow-up video from London Hughes. I hadn't seen the original video, but the caption was something like, when the beat drops and you're trained in classic Kathak dance.
Yeah.
Now, London Hughes is black. I don't know her kind of
sure.
the full sort of makeup of her background and her heritage.
Okay.
But she talked in that follow-up video of how when she was younger, she had wanted to dance. Her mum put her in ballet. She came out of ballet crying, and she saw a poster of a girl posed in a Kathak, advertising a class. So she went to that, and she was the only sort of probably non-South Asian person of non-South Asian heritage.
So Kathak is Indian. It's an traditional Indian dance form for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, thank you absolutely for explaining. And so. So she said that it wasn't a joke when she said on her TikTok that she is classically trained in it, but she talked about how welcoming everybody was and how, the mum said, it was so brave that she was there. They're obviously very welcoming in the community for her, but I loved that because I'm somebody who's done a lot of dance, and we're so spoiled for choice in London with that. And I kind of feel like we're doing a full circle because we talked about carnival a bit earlier.
Yeah.
But for anybody who loves dance of different types, as well as sort of Dance Works and Pineapple and these sorts of big studios. You've also got, Discover Dance UK that does a lot of sort of belly dancing, reggaeton, like loads of options.
I think you're absolutely right. As Londoners, we are so spoilt with the various options and choices that we have with dance, and it's about actually stepping out of your comfort zone. Because seeing that video, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could do Kathak. I love watching it, but it's not easy. And that's, I think, a beautiful story to end on. Gina, Arj, such a pleasure having you both here. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
And thoroughly enjoyed Week in Review this afternoon. If you'd like more details for Gina Visram, it is Your Career and Future on social media. And for Arj Terichalvam, it is Performance_Physique. A big thanks to Arj and Gina. We'll continue the conversation.
Thank you very much for listening to the Performance Physique podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on Instagram. It's at Performance_Physique. You can find us on Facebook, Performance Physique, or if you just head to performancephysique.co.uk, and we'll do our very best to help you. It will mean the world to me, though, if you can share this podcast with one friend this week. Right, for now, take care.